So starting to manage others is one of the biggest transitions you make in your career. You've gone from doing the work yourself to managing maybe 3 or 4 other teams. Instead of actually getting hands-on and actually making things happen, you're going to have to work through other people. So here are a few tips to manage that transition and be a success when you do it. Firstly, you want to really think about setting very clear expectations from what you want from your team. That means giving them examples of work that's been done well that they can follow, templates, references, all that sort of stuff, so they know exactly what you want, and making sure you explain the principles behind it as well. That's not something where you're going to be able to do everything all in the same go. So think about how do you approach different aspects of your work, one after the other in a sequence, and work on the most critical bits first. Second thing to think about is really keeping a close eye on the work that everyone's doing. You might be a bit nervous about micromanaging, but it's your responsibility as a manager to make sure that the work is done to the right level of quality. So make sure you are actually checking in on people's work and seeing what they're doing, and then course correcting them if you're not quite aligned on what they should be doing or the quality level that they should be doing it to. It's much easier to give people feedback early on and get them back on track before they've done too much work than to wait for them to do a whole bunch of work and then need to ask them to redo it or have to throw it away because it wasn't what you wanted. Third tip I've got for you is to be really, really good at process. So if you're running a planning cycle or you've got a big deadline coming up, you often need to get all of your teams working towards something in tandem, like all at the same time. And when you do that, you've got to be the one that is watching the timelines, that's sending out the reminders, that's making sure the work's coming in. Own all of that kind of process stuff. It can feel low value because it feels like it's just the basics, sending meeting requests and reminders and things, but that actually makes a huge difference to how well all the teams under you can come together and hit their deadlines. Fourth tip then is to set really high standards. So often as a new manager, you want to be nice to people, you want to be friendly, and that can lead you to being a little bit too soft, a little bit too lenient in terms of the feedback you give because you're pulling your punches a bit. And overall, what that's going to do is it means that the quality of work that the team's reporting into you is going to slip, and that's going to affect your reputation, but also the reputation of all the people underneath you. And what you need to realize is that actually the best bosses really kind of like drag good performance out of their teams. And you are there as a coach to stretch people to their top performance. They can only do that if you are giving them really kind of like good feedback that actually pushes them, and you have that kind of sense of what really, really great is. And then if you've got people who aren't reaching that level, you want to have a very open conversation with them, like very supportive, of course, early on, again, so they have time to course correct, get back on track, and you can provide them with that support. And then if they can't for any reason, as you get further down the line and start talking about underperformance and things like that, that's not going to be a shock because it's going to be something that you've been talking about for a long time. You never want to be in a position where you kind of give people an easy ride and then after a few months you're like, this isn't working, I'm going to have to fire you, and they have no idea that's coming. Fifth tip I've got for you is that your team is not the people reporting into you. So if you're a product manager, it's very easy to think that the PMs reporting into you are your team. Or if you're a marketer and you get promoted into a management role, you think that the marketing team is your team. It's not your team. Your peers are your team. And by that, I mean the peers at the same level as you in different functions. So think about it this way. As a product manager, your team is the tech lead, the other engineers, the designer in your cross-functional team, and together you make great features. When you become a head of product or another manager, it's not the PMs that are reporting into you that are your team, it's the head of marketing, it's the head of engineering, it's the head of design. It's these other cross-functional people that are working at the same level as you and need to be organizing multiple teams to make things happen. You don't lead a group of PMs for the benefit of the product org, you're the product representative for the whole business. Final tip I've got is you can do this. Like, a lot of people suffer from imposter syndrome when they make this step. I know I certainly did. You've been promoted for a reason, and you've been promoted because people saw potential in you, they saw that you were excellent in your job, and they saw you could deliver. So believe in yourself, accept that this is going to be a learning curve, and be humble and keep learning, but have faith that you're going to get through this and you're going to be an amazing manager as well by working at it.